Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video, we are looking at HIMS and HERS health. It is time for another update and we see some interesting price action. So for the last few weeks, we have been trending downwards, right? We have formed here a top. We have been extending to lower and lower prices. And only yesterday have we really started seeing some more interesting movement, a reaction to this overall downtrend. And this can be quite interesting as we have so far only formed a 3-wave move to the downside. Now, of course, there is still a lot of pressure, but that is why we need to keep an eye on this. And let's start with the larger time frame before we get into all the details. And by the way, if you want to keep up to date with these developments as we identify even early opportunities on this chart, I would encourage you to subscribe as we will keep a close eye on this. So on this chart, on the large time frame, we have a quite clearly weak pattern, right? We have a 3-wave move to the upside. Could we track it as something else? Perhaps, if we are willing to allow a pretty bad count, something like an A, B, C pattern here. Yeah, we could be tracking this as a wave 3 and then we would be within a wave 4 and a wave 5 could still work out. But the internal structure in this area hasn't been too compelling for this reason. And by the way, for that interpretation, we would actually need to have a bottom in place right now. Yeah, we cannot allow any extensions to lower prices. But nonetheless, a weak structure, I wouldn't assume something like that to be in place. And I would focus on the smaller time frame where we might be able to identify something more reliable. And we've already had such an attempt on this chart. We did identify an initial 5-wave move to the upside in this area, but it seems the setup had failed. And that is why we highlighted that below $30, this chart would have been very likely to extend to much lower prices. And so it has. It has dropped an additional over 50% from that area down to below $14. Now, the question is whether we can actually trust this as a wave 2 or something else to have bottomed, yeah, possibly a wave B. Whether we could actually look for the reversal to high prices. And I am exploring such opportunities. The pattern seems wildly incomplete. Within any count I would really be tracking, I would require at least one more low to have a more clearly full pattern, as in the orange interpretation we are tracking a larger A, B, C structure here. In this case, we would be looking for this wave C to be building a 5-wave pattern, of course, where at this point I cannot even trust the wave 3 to have a bottom in place. I would actually prefer another low, even within the wave 3, as the structure seems overwhelmingly incomplete. Now, could I be able to maybe allow a bottom to be in place? Perhaps we could consider something like that, but it wouldn't be a very trustworthy scenario, and I would only focus on that if we get another break, if we get another high in this structure, and break one of our interpretations. Either the orange area of resistance, which has been broken but only briefly so far, so I am still counting on this structure to be extending to lower prices. I do still see it able, and then even if it does get a sustained break above this level, I would still require to see a sustained break above the $27 level, at which point I would be more inclined to be tracking this as a wave 3 in a slightly different pattern. Yeah, still the overall orange structure, but where a wave 3 bottom would be in place, and I would be open to tracking a larger wave 4 correction. We would have higher resistance levels, but again, this cannot really be a focus as currently the structure still is suggesting that it is incomplete, is still suggesting it requires an additional low before we can assume a more substantial bottom to be in place, even within this wave 3 in orange. So we go into the smaller time frame, and I suppose we could leave one of those resistance levels on the chart just to have some more visibility of what to watch out for. And in this pattern, we so far only have a 3-wave move to the upside in any way I choose to count it, right? There is clearly no indication of a 5-wave pattern, and that is why in the previous video we provided this white structure, this white interpretation that was tracking a leading diagonal that would have allowed a retracement in wave 4 to go as low as $18.4, but it would have needed to see a break into a wave 5 before breaking this last level of support. And already we actually see a warning, at least for this interpretation, not necessarily for the case of extending to higher prices, But we see a warning that this wave 4 is actually quite extended. Yeah, this correction we have been tracking in this white wave 4 doesn't seem ideal at this point, even though it is still holding the support levels. I would have to be very much open to the idea that we wouldn't have a wave 4 here, but rather that instead of building a 5-wave move to the upside in this area, we already have a 3-wave pattern in place, possibly within one of the waves 4 in orange or yellow, or possibly within a larger ABC structure, right? Something like that could work out for this structure, and that is why we could even look for a different area of support that would allow even deeper retracements, but with only having a 3-wave move to the upside. Even if we are within this area of support, we cannot consider clear accumulation. We cannot trust the continuation to higher prices, as the structure doesn't provide any clear indication, any edge for us that we would manage to extend to higher prices, right? I would have an ABC pattern here that sure could work out as a larger ABC pattern, but at the same time, it could work out as an ABC pattern within one of these wave 4. So we have no increased probability from this perspective. We have a lot of uncertainty in terms of the structure of this chart, and we need to go to an even smaller time frame to identify something more reliable if we actually want to be looking for positions that can actually provide some degree of reliability, not just empty data. So I go here into an even smaller time frame where once again we have a potential 3-wave move to the downside. We of course need to track resistance for continuation to even lower prices, and in that case we would be watching the 61.8% retracement for a potential leading diagonal in this pattern. Yeah, I would be watching this, could work out in yellow and orange, and let's say we track it in orange, but we would be watching the levels up to $22.5 for resistance for direct extension to lower prices in a 5-wave move to the downside. This could actually provide a bearish trade setup, right? If we build here this wave 5, we start a larger correction, and then we have our area of resistance that we expect to send us to even lower prices. Now, if we get the break above this resistance level, it would be a good indication that we would be looking with better likelihood for a breakout. And by the way, we won't keep this blue area of support on the chart at the moment. I do not find it too interesting as we have a decent reaction to the upside. And this is actually the interesting part, because in this push from the lows we have formed in the previous days, we can actually identify potentially a 5-wave structure. Now, how trustworthy is this? Well, but it's all we have for this chart, and what I'm really using it as is to identify a failure of this structure to extend directly higher. So if we get the reversal from this support zone, does it mean that we have a specific scenario? Not really. We could actually get an extension in an ABC pattern, part of a simple correction we would be tracking anyway into this orange resistance zone up to $22.5, right? So as we form an additional high from this area of support, we are pushing into resistance, into substantial risk. And if we don't even manage to do that, well, I would be prepared for a more direct failure. Of course, I'm not denying the possibility of the actual wave 5 in white building from these levels, or even something within the blue interpretation, but I would be waiting also for the break above the resistance levels for that to be a better indication. So we are watching here the levels down to $19.2 for the reversal, where a break below this would very likely make the white scenario altogether likely fail, and we would be looking for one of the other interpretations really. But at this point, we have to be patient as this structure remains highly questionable. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoy our content and want to support us directly, check out our channel membership. And as a thank you for any of these actions, I would like to invite you to sign up to our channel newsletter, where you get access to our monthly top picks, where we identify for you high quality structures. And if you join by the end of this week, you will also get access to our monthly top picks for April. And it is completely free anyway. Beyond that, let me know what else you would like to see. And I wish you a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.